Greatness. Greatness. Bow, bow, bow. Greatness.
There are 2 times to be great: when you feel like it and when you don't. Welcome to the Renewing the Mind podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Tyler Sanchez. With me is my dad, Dr. Raul Sanchez. How you doing, Dad?
I'm feeling amazing. I'm feeling like back in the day at NDSU when we had a saying: those who stay will play, those who play will be champions. Once a champion, always a champion.
There's
Let's
the
go,
ring
baby.
kiss.
Let's go.
On this podcast, we teach you how to flip your mindset by talking through how you renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation. If you missed last week's episode, you can head over to any platform you listen to podcasts on and check out the last episode. Or if you'd like to watch the video version of this podcast, you can head to YouTube and search Renewing the Mind podcast. Last week, we talked about surviving COVID-19, hit on loss of control, isolation, and then feeling imprisoned by social distancing.
Right. So the most important piece there is, remember, you double down on your efforts, you connect with people, and you have to be the change for people. You have to rescue people. And then the last piece is find a sanctuary in your house or outside, like us turkey hunting.
I like it. Before we jump into today's content, we have a segment we like to call a W.A.A.T moment.
What?
W.A.A.T is an acronym, stands for What's Awesome About That, W.A.A.T. And really, a W.A.T moment is just finding the silver lining, finding the positive in every situation, turning anything that happens in your life to something that's awesome.
Correct. That's the ability to shift the mindset.
I like it. You got one?
Yeah. So the W.A.T moment right now is we're figuring out how much like process goes into changing. And, you know, everybody's like nervous and change. Nobody likes change. We didn't embrace change. So we moved Mom home, or Stacy, my office manager, because we brought in a new therapist. And it was just something we had to do. And in doing so, we realized, like, right now under quarantine, she's able to help Valencia every day with her schoolwork. She's able to get so much done at home. She doesn't have to run office and billing and software and all that kind of stuff. So with us going full telehealth, she's able to do all those conference calls from home. And it's just amazing because we both look at that and laugh. And it's weird to say this out loud, but we say, man, God knew.
Yep.
And Stacy's like, really? You think so? Like, God knows.
Right.
And I'm like
it was a surprise to him.
yeah. But it's just funny to think of it. That's like, man, God really knew. And just like,
All that was pre-quarantine.
Pre-quarantine.
So
Correct.
that decision was made before COVID even came
Correct.
really onto the
Yeah,
to
and
the
it
stage.
and it's not like, you know, nobody really likes change. Okay.
Yeah, and
But
she didn't want to come home.
She didn't
was
want to
kind
come
of
home.
against it. She liked the office feel.
correct. And actually, she was still coming in every single day for lunch because she was just feeling left out of the clinic side of that. And now I'll call her and be like, "What's up?" She's like, "Swamped, busy." She's loving it because she can get so much more done.
Yep.
And she has these like go moments where nobody bugs her.
Sweet.
So that's our W.A.T moment.
Awesome. If you got a W.A.T moment in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and just type out a W.A.T moment to encourage us and other people. We'd like to hear your stories of when you find what's awesome about that in every situation. Today, we're talking about quarantine. What's awesome about quarantine?
What?
So let's just start off by saying this. Obviously, we don't think there's anything awesome about COVID-19.
No.
Like, obviously, we're not excited about it. We're not happy about it. If we could do away with COVID, obviously everyone would. That's obviously the prayer. No one dies from COVID.
Yeah, and if you do have it, you get healed and you had very little symptoms and it doesn't spread into your family.
Yeah.
Especially loved ones with compromised immune systems, that they don't die.
Yeah.
So that part all sucks.
And we're not also saying by any means that quarantine is awesome or we're excited about social distancing. But what we are saying is
aren't working.
Yeah. The whole point of the W.A.T moment is in bad situations, you ask yourself, what is awesome?
Yes.
You renew and you find something that's awesome in the midst of bad.
Correct. So the first piece is you have to renew your mind, right? Renew your perspective.
Yep.
And that's the clock. Again, you're switching. You're looking at the same thing, quarantine. It stinks. Nobody likes it.
Yep.
There's all these negatives. But if you just keep shifting or, you know, changing your perspective, you'll find something that says, well, this is kind of awesome about it. And then once you start to do that, you move toward that. You move toward that uncertainty. I don't know how it looks. Nobody knows how to do this. We find the awesome part about that. And then here's what's really cool. You figure out you have skill there. This is like, mom didn't want to come home. We had to get new software. We have to get these, all this telehealth stuff going. We have to get new licenses. We have to get permissions, all these kind of things. But once you find an angle on it, you press into the uncertainty, and then you start to go, wow, this is really kind of awesome.
Last week we talked about surviving quarantine,
Right.
just making it through. This week we want to talk about how do we thrive through that? How do we finish COVID and quarantine and social distancing and all that, and be better for it on the end of it?
Yes, I used to think like this, like in doing chores and stuff like that. Like, oh, if I have to do this, I might as well kill it. So if we have to be quarantined, wouldn't it be cool if we can come out on top?
Yep.
When quarantine gets released and we're back to normal, back to life. So otherwise, you come out feeling groggy, like you just hibernated for 6 weeks.
Yep. 3 things we're going to talk about is rebooting your energy, rebooting your time, and then rebooting your values. So we walk out of this thing better. All right.
Correct.
So hop into it. Reboot energy.
All right. So what's interesting, everybody I talked to, the first 2 weeks, it was like vacay. They slept in sweatpants. We laugh about people who gained weight during quarantine, and like some people aren't getting food. You can't go to the store as much. Like, why are you gaining weight? So the interesting piece is if they're not having enough energy, right, they're dropping down because of stress. Stress is killing people. Stress is a silent killer. The interesting thing about this is we all have stress with quarantine and COVID, but inside the house, people are stressed about family and stuff like that. But the number one stressor inside the house, the environmental stressors, is clutter. So when people aren't getting up, they're not doing their workouts.
Yep.
They're not like getting things done. What's happening to them is they're really struggling, right? They're really struggling with like how they manage their energy, how they make things happen. They're all kind of just laying around, and their kids are just on way over time on their social media rules
Or devices.
or devices, all that kind of stuff. And then at some point there's an epiphany and they go, what am I doing? Okay. And at that point they get to renew a little of energy. So talk about what happened to you.
So we moved obviously to working from home at the church. And so, my job per se and the time I spent in didn't change because I can still work from home with my computer and all of that. But what did change is my schedule. I can't go to work out anymore. I don't have to get up and get dressed. Well, I mean, put clothes on, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
This is a family show. Family show, bro.
Yeah, button up shirt, and I can wear Crocs and a t-shirt and shorts. And so my routine just went out the window. And then at night I was working from home all day. And so then the lines got blurred between like clocking in and clocking out. And so, I was working a little bit later and then brought my computer up. And then I was like, well, since I don't have to get up earlier to go work out, I'll stay up later and play video games. That turned into like, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And then it just was this cycle of, Alicia calls it, I went into college mode, that I went into dorm life.
That's probably pretty true.
Yeah. So she said that I felt like I was at Evangel again, just playing video games and working all hours of the night.
In your boxers for 3 days straight.
With Crocs on.
Yes.
Yeah. So I felt that. And I've talked to a ton of people that have felt that same thing, that like, so Alicia last night or 2 nights ago told me like how working out should be easier for you. Like your routine should be easier.
I agree. 100%.
I don't have to go somewhere. I don't have to get up earlier. Like, because I'm working from home, I can shower and just, I don't have to do my hair. Like all that stuff is that normal people have to shower, get ready, go, you drive. That's not happening. I just walk downstairs.
Correct.
So like it should be easier, but for some reason, like you just said, it went weird. That's the only thing I could put it. It just felt weird, and everything was awkward and uncomfortable and different. And so I had to sit down and just say like, why?
Yeah.
I just thought that quarantine meant I can just basically let all of those small disciplines in my life go.
Yeah. I don't think everybody knew how big it was. So nobody really knew the long game. B, everybody took it initially as a vacay because like, well, right now I'm still getting paid. Right now we can make it. We got little savings. Right now we're good.
Well, that was
so
the other
people
thing.
just chilled.
In the long-term thing, I was just like, well, if this is just a week,
Correct.
I can play video games real late for a week and just kind of be tired and make it work.
Right. But here's the thing.
2 weeks in, I was like, well, this is a little, long.
Here's the thing. See, some people take that time off and they can't reboot. They can't get back up because now they've literally habituated, became a habit in this like dead time of dead zone thing.
Yep.
And so for this idea of renewing your energy, rebooting your energy, we want to really be focusing on the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm, time you go to sleep, time you wake up. And people always just talk about 8 hours of sleep, but that's not true. Like, okay, if you go to bed at midnight and get up at 8, but then the next day you stay up until 4 in the morning and still get 8 hours, that's going to wreck you. It's not true that you just have to get 8 hours. People, that's a fallacy. So that's what wrecks them. The brain starts to set up systems. And I, this, we grew up cooking and stuff. So I use the kitchen. You come in the kitchen, flip on the lights. You got to preheat the oven. You got to preheat all the grills. You got to preheat the oil. Everything has to have a bunch of hours to fire up. Especially if you think about a bakery, they work up 2 in the morning sometimes to get that fired up so it's ready to go by 6. The idea for our brains is exactly the same. You have to fire up systems, and likewise, it takes a couple hours for those systems to drop back down. So what's happened in quarantine is everybody's like waking up in sweatpants, eating, hanging out all day long, laying around all day long, sleeping, taking naps, falling asleep during Netflix, binging. And then they're going to bed way later and they wake up the next day in the same clothes. Same thing. The brain has no idea what it's doing. So it shuts down all these energy centers. Like, why fire the kitchen up? I'll just use the microwave.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day and they felt like even their days, because they work in the school system, and then their kids obviously are not at school. And so their whole family basically is in that each day doesn't really make a difference. And so
Correct.
I was talking to them the other day and they're like, yeah, sometimes I wake up and I don't even know what day it is. Like they all seem the exact same. Just like you said, they're laying around and not doing a lot. And so when it actually comes time for bed, a lot of them aren't tired. So they're staying up later, watching movies and doing family time, which is,
Correct.
A benefit. But at the same time, then that just kind of throws off that whole entire system and flow.
Correct. And so a lot of families I work with and talk to, they're like, so wait, everybody should still be going to bed at 8:30, like school, and getting up at 6:15? Not necessarily. I mean, you can stay on a routine. That's actually the best thing to do. However, you could kind of say, okay, since there's no school, we don't have to wake up at 6:15. What time do we want to get up? So let's say, okay, 2 more hours. So 8:15. Well, then instead of going to bed at 8:15, let's go to bed at 10:15. So if we back up 2 hours, we back up 2 hours in the morning. And then we stick to the same circadian rhythm. So that same rhythm is what produces your energy. That same rhythm is what fires up your kitchen, your brain.
The circadian rhythm is the sleep when it's dark, be awake when it's light.
That's correct. Yep. The circadian rhythm is the ability to follow as close as you can to the sun schedule, right? So I'm up and I'm booted energy when the sun's up, and I'm kind of down when the sun's down. And that's why gloomy, rainy days, foggy, that's why people don't have a lot of energy.
Yep.
Okay. But we can manufacture that if we wake up with a routine every day.
I think that's the biggest thing is like I went from, and I think a lot of people would say this, is that they went from a pretty tight schedule, quarantine hit, and everyone was just like no schedule at all.
Right.
And so just recently, I'll be honest, we're 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks in, me and Alicia asked me, like, why did you just throw out your old routine? And I said that, well, I don't have to get up at 5 and go to the gym. I don't have. She's like, well, when will you get up then? So it's not like necessarily stick to your work schedule, but there does need to be a routine that you establish in the midst of this.
And last time I said, I went 7 days without my routine. I literally just got up, put on my glasses or whatever, got on Croc, went and sat down. Me and Stacy would just hang out and talk a little bit in the morning before work. And so I didn't really do my routines. I slept in a little bit more. And I realized I didn't have my focus that I usually have. So our teaching moment here for how do you reboot your energy is focus on the circadian rhythm.
Yep.
Okay. And you have to have what we call a DMO, a daily mode of operation. So my DMO, I call it a filling station. So I wake up, and then the first thing we do is just drink some water, and then I stretch, okay, and do my wake up 50 push-ups, okay. You're
These
laughing.
push-ups are not confirmed because no one is awake.
Yeah, the only person who's awake that time is Valencia.
He says.
So we talk about wake up 50.
Video or it didn't happen?
That 7 days it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Today, yes, happened. Back on track.
We need video proof of this.
Okay, when Bryce does his 15 today.
I got it. I got his 15. 2 weeks in a row. Bryce is late. You got him on film.
Wait, you got him? You did him?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
Follow us on social media to see Bryce's push-ups.
We'll get him. Okay, so
go ahead. So you do your morning push-ups.
So I drink a big glass of water.
Yep.
Then I do my stretching and push-ups, and then I worship. I worship the Lord, the living God, and then I read the Bible, and then after I read, I get motivated with prayer, and then I pray. And then my last step is my significant 6. My last step of the 6 is then I do protein.
So here's what I'm saying. As soon as you say that, my mind goes to, I'm not getting up an hour and a half before I need to go through that whole process.
Yeah. So I can get it done in 30 minutes, buzz through it. That's my short game. And I could go 90 minutes. That's my long game. So it really depends. Like today was 90 minutes because I knew I had to get up and get everybody, get functioning, got to get fired up. So you got to warm up the kitchen. I got folks coming over, right?
Yep.
But when it's just me or
Okay,
I'm like struggling, 30 minutes.
Talk me through how that started, because you didn't just start waking up 90 minutes early, right?
Actually,
I mean, is that how we're supposed to do that?
yeah, it takes 90 minutes to fire.
No, I'm saying for the first time. So I'm tonight. I just heard you say that, and I go, okay, I want to do a daily mode of operations, a DMO. Tomorrow morning, I get up 90 minutes early and go through those. Or how do I begin?
Yeah. So one of two things. First, you do need 90 minutes to be fully functioning before work. So if you have to be at work at 8, if you're getting up at like 7:15 and trying to just get everything done, you're not fully functioning.
Why didn't you tell me this in college, dude? I used to
Bro,
get up at 8:50
I
for
tried.
my 9 o'clock class.
We brought you a brain training program to fire your booty up. We tried. We're all over you.
I wonder
okay?
I had a busted GPA.
So here's the idea. So cognitively, you need 90 minutes. Now, if you wake up and read the paper, drink coffee, play with your dog, and you're up 90 minutes, you'll still be better off if you just sleep in, shower,
Last
get
minute,
dressed, and
run
boom.
to work. Yeah.
Think about high schoolers. Exactly. I mean, they just literally put on a sweatshirt, grab a granola
Every day.
bar, and they're there.
Pop-Tart.
And they're not waking up for 2 hours. I promise you. So just if you wake up 90 minutes, that's your morning routine. That's your DMO. Okay.
So start there.
Start there. Now, if you wake up 90 minutes and you want to start a couple routines, the idea is consistency wins. Don't try to do my significant 6 because I've laid that down for years. And by the way, I started with Francis back in grad school because he was like, how much time you waking up before, to spend time with the Lord? And I was like, what? And that's when I literally went into my prayer closet because I thought that's what it meant. So I walked into the closet on a pillow, turned on a light, and I prayed in the closet because I used to interpret the Bible like exactly.
Yep.
Okay. So the significant 6 for me is this, like every single day, like right now, you and I are pouring into people through these podcasts, just pouring in value, pouring in, research, pouring in whatever experiences. And at the end of the day, you're exhausted, you're tired. So I'm empty. If I wake up empty again, what do I have to pour out? And I promise you, people who know me, who come in to see me, if I do a 30-minute DMO instead of my 90-minute, they come in and they're like, hey, everything okay? You look different. You sound different. They pick up on it like that.
Yep.
Because I don't have as much energy to give to people because I haven't put into it. So my morning routine is this, like I'm empty. So I go to the Lord and he fills me up, right? Once I'm full, I can go pour into people all day long and not feel guilty about it, not feel whatever. Because people are like, why do you pour into people and
Not
they don't
feel
give
taken
back?
advantage of.
No.
Yep.
I'm not trying to get anything back from you. My job is to pour, so I'm a pour. My mentor Francis used to say, I'm a sender. I send. That's what I do. So he would have this vision to tell you, like Tyler, you'd be really good at this, like that stuff. He was like, Sanchez, you should work in prison. You'd be really good with men. And I was like, dang it, he knows.
Yep.
Because I've been called to work with men. So your DMO is for you to fill up so that you can pour out. And if you get a hold of that, like you're not trying to do this so you could be in the cover of a magazine. You're not trying to do this so I could be like, Bryce, I got you. I didn't.
It's a better version of you.
It's just, no, you're literally putting you up to a level so you can be a Sherpa, a climber, a teacher, a mentor, and then you get to pour into people.
And with being in quarantine, how this relates is majority of us have, this is the best time to figure out that routine because most of us have more time at home than normal.
Correct.
So like my morning used to be pretty rushed. Now it's really not.
Correct.
So why not figure it out now and use this quarantine to reboot that energy and that system?
Consistency wins.
Okay.
So like Stacy, her DMO, okay, she gets up, goes and gets coffee, puts on a big thick robe. She sits down with a big thick blanket. Like her first move is she grabs the Bible. Yep. So she's on the couch, first move. And then she does her workout there too, but hers is toward the end. Yep. So you got to do this for you, and you can't stack a bunch of things. If I can't hold 1, how am I going to hold 6? Stick with 1, stick with the 90 minutes. And then once you feel like that's easy, then add something.
2, add
and then
3.
once you can carry that, add something.
Yep.
Like you're not going to go from benching 100 to benching 300, right? You're so slow build.
Slow steps.
Let's go.
Small steps in the right direction.
Yes.
Love it. Number 2, reboot time.
Reboot time. Okay, so right now, time, everybody has time. You're not commuting. You're not getting into the office early. You're not flying. You're not staying over. You don't have layovers. You don't have all these other things that eat your time. For us, we're not driving to and from. We're not splitting up and conquering practices and picking her up.
That's
and
the
dropping
biggest
her
thing
off.
I've heard is we don't have, softball tournaments and volleyball tournaments
Yes.
and practices and,
Correct.
even hangouts with other people
Correct.
or family dinners
Correct.
or, people inviting you over or to do stuff. Yeah, I think we can all say, regardless if you're laid off or working time, even if you're working maybe more hours, you still don't have the extra stuff on the weekends and
Correct.
at night. So yeah, I think we all have more time. So
Correct.
what do we do? How do we reboot that?
So here's the quick mental mindset of time. So time, people think it's time management. You don't manage time because none of us own it. Time is an infinite thing that we all have. It's
We're all
finite.
given the exact
We're all
amount.
given the same amount. So it's really the question is, how are you investing your time? And when you hear that, you're like, wait, what do you mean? Yeah, so all of us have a couple hours of free time a day, maybe. Okay, let's even say 90 minutes. Are you investing that into a Netflix show? You're not getting anything back. Are you investing that into a podcast? Okay, you might get a few things back. Are you investing that into a sermon and taking some notes? You get a little more back. You invest that into a workout, you get a little more back. Are you investing that into Zoom calls where you're like just touching with your friends and you get a lot back? Where are you investing that? Are you playing hand pong with your daughter? Are you going on a turkey hunt? What are you doing? How are you investing your time? Because when you invest it, you get it back, right? You plant a tree, it grows. When you plant into somebody, some people, especially your kids, you get that stuff back. So the question isn't like, how are you using or managing your time? It really is, how are you investing? So when you want to reboot time, we have to reboot that word, which is, how are you investing this time? So for like you guys don't have to go into the office very much. So you have an extra time. You don't have a big commute, but it's still time. And that time is going to be spent or invested. How are you doing it? And that's the number one question. So for me, and this is going to be specifically for men, but you can also use it for a single parent mom for sure. But here's the question. So people talk about legacy, like you die, you leave your legacy, especially in men's circles. Everybody's always like, bro, I'm working on my legacy. And what they really mean is, I'm trying to have $1 million or $10 million, or I'm really trying to reboot my net worth because when I die, I want to leave so much to my kids. Or I want to buy an estate and I want to just have all my kids set. Even there's a big word called generational legacy now, generational wealth now. Here's the question. How many super rich people do you know that have zero wisdom? Like all you got to do is look at Hollywood. And I ain't trying to judge anybody, pick on anybody. All I'm saying is, if you had the opportunity to be a millionaire and have zero wisdom, okay, or to have all the wisdom you've ever wanted, what would you want? What would you pick? I mean, obviously the answer is both. But for us, we teach this living legacy concept, which is this. When I find something that brings me wisdom, I teach it in real time. And here's the question. Here's why. I get a lot of older men who come to see me and they don't get their family clicking back to them. They have holidays by themselves. They're lonely. They have toys. They have land. They have legacy, but they don't have the connection. And the question is like, how can I get my kids who are grinding and have a hustle and a side hustle? How do I get them to come back and bring me the grandkids? And so my theory, my thing that I teach here is, instead of leaving your legacy, why don't you live your legacy? And I'm not saying don't worry about leaving, like an inheritance. Do that. But while you're doing that, and when you get these wisdom keys that come into your head, these epiphanies, turn back and teach them. And you guys know this, like dinner table, it becomes a lecture. Or not, well, sometimes or
Always.
these. Well, you guys call it a lecture. I'm just like, I'm dropping nuggets.
Yeah.
These are gold nuggets
Of truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, nuggets of truth. So it's like when I figure something out, I'm like, hey, listen to this real quick.
Yep.
And I call you aside, we circle up and we teach it. Because here's the big premise. When I die, okay, think about this for a minute. You have two choices. You can go to Dirk, or you can go to Randy, you can go to Brenton, you can go to any of the people who are close to me, and you could say, hey, can I take you out for coffee because I need you to tell me about my dad? Okay?
Yeah.
Or when I'm gone, they call
already
you
know.
and be like, Ty, can I
Yep.
take you out for coffee? I got some questions about how your dad handled some things. That's my dream. That's my living legacy.
Yep.
So we talk about rebooting your time. We are really talking about investing in your kids investing in this living legacy where you get to teach them real-time moments, real-time energy, real-time systems that you use and how you use them and why you use them. And then they level up at that age. Like, think about this. You, Terrence and Tavian, at my age, I was a harder worker. I'm just saying.
I don't know about that.
But I promise you, I don't have the brains you guys have. Because at my age, I just figured I could out hustle everybody. I could outwork.
Sure.
Like, I'm dyslexic. We're poor. Grew up on welfare. Single parent mom. No dad. Like, I'm just going to outwork everybody. And I got here by hard work. So there's no joke about that. But there was a lot of mistakes I made because I wasn't very wise. Nobody was teaching me things. I had to learn it all by falling on my face.
Yep.
Getting back up, falling on my face, getting back up, right? So like it's incredibly hard, nearly impossible to defeat somebody who never quits. You understand that?
Yeah.
How do you beat somebody who never gives up? You don't. Okay? So that's me. Now, if I can take that wisdom and push it into the kids now, like even Valencia,
And invest time.
invest time. Valencia's 10. If I can invest time in her, that's the most amazing thing. And here's a cool thing. So, hunting in the turkey blind, we weren't seeing anything, or 90 minutes of nothing. Valencia's on me. We're talking about this whole quarantine thing. And we're talking about, hey, how are things looking and how things are different, and her Zoom stuff on her schoolwork.
Yep.
And she got into this idea about, I don't know why she's competitive, but she was like, well, you're doing all the work. And so we started talking, because I leave the house and Stacy stays home, right? Mm. And she's like, well, you do all the work. Is that really fair? Like that kind of thing. So we started just picking jobs. Like, pick a job and let's look at who does it. And so she would be like, dishes. Who does it more? Mom. Cooking. Who does it more? Equal. Vacuuming. So she was just pulling out all these things. We started looking at all that stuff. Okay. She goes, Mom works more than you. And you should have seen her face. And she said, but you go to work, Daddy. And I was like, yeah, but that's one thing. And so we kind of worked my work as one, Mom's work as one. So that was even. We looked at every other job. Valencia was like, so you're saying Mom outworks you. You're saying moms are hard working. You're saying Mom's the boss. And I would disagree with her. And so we came home. Stacy hugs her and says, congratulations and all that, because she shot a turkey. And then her very first thing, and she's like, and guess what? We figured out that you win. You work more than Dad. And Dad agreed. And Stacy's like, what? Why would you say that? And it was just hilarious. But investing that time in the hunting blind about just praying and singing and teaching moments, that stuff's the most amazing thing, because first thing she sees Tavian, Tavian's like, lies, you didn't shoot this thing, right? And Valencia's like, no, I promise you. But guess what? Dad agreed. Mom's the hardest worker. Like, it was such an epiphany for her. Like, whoa.
Well, even bigger than that, that's a teaching moment on work ethic, on marriage, on compromising, on two working together as one. That's bigger than just, the joke that Mom works more than you. That's a pretty substantial teaching moment.
Yeah, it really was, because in her head, Dad works, Mom doesn't, like that thing.
Yep.
And so it makes me think, and this is where, look, so I'm the so-called expert, but Valencia can disrespect Mom a lot. Like just trying to overtalk her and stuff like that, because Valencia's like a powerhouse, like a go-getter, and Stacy's more passive, And so it made me, just driving home in the truck, I was thinking, man, that's so huge. So that makes me understand she was devaluing Stacy from a work ethic standpoint, and overvaluing me from a work ethic standpoint. And so that probably had some things to do with it. So when we came home, we rebooted how she talks to Mom. We talked about how Mom feels when she talks, so all that kind of stuff. All from a turkey blind, because we have time to invest.
Yep.
Right.
The other thing I was thinking about is, a lot of people are complaining. I was talking to some students, and they're just talking about how they're bored and how they're trying to figure out how to, fill their time. But on the flip side of that is, we should be enjoying this.
Yes.
We should be enjoying this. Most of us don't get huge breaks. Some
Correct.
of us get acquired PTO, or maybe a week or two off.
Yes.
And so when you go through the rigor mortis, or sorry, the rhythm, rigor mortis.
For sure. People are stiff. They're sitting on the couch binging Netflix. Bro, see, that's a Freudian slip. You got busted.
What's the word?
I know what you do.
Say?
You ain't trying to do no CrossFit, bro. You're laying on the couch.
Rigorous. That's what I'm saying. Not rigor
Trying
mortis.
to lie to me.
Listen,
Bro's
the rigorous work
naked
ethic.
in boxers.
Stop. Listen. When people are trying to go through the rigorous work ethic and workflow of, Monday comes every Monday,
Yes.
2 days. I mean, that can be exhausting.
It is.
And so this has kind of caused everyone, whether you want to, whether you're laid off, whether financial struggles, we understand all that is tough.
Correct.
But W.A.T is asking what's awesome about that in the midst of that.
Correct.
And you kind of have a little bit of vacation, or if it's just a little bit more time,
Right.
that also can be enjoyed.
Correct.
Which brings us to the next point.
Gotcha.
Number 3, reboot values. So we have more time. We're rebooting time. We're investing time. But
Correct.
in order to do that, we probably should ask ourselves where we should invest time, right?
Correct.
Which brings us to values.
Which brings us to value. So the idea is now we get to reassess what's really, really important. And so I really love asking people questions when they start to complain. So I don't try to stop them. Okay. And the reason is because like when you get somebody to think of something they never thought of before, now you're churning their wheels. Now this energy is moving and they're rebooting their energy, right? They're now starting to figure out how to reboot their time. And now they start to reboot their values. So many people just complain. Like, this is really funny. On a list of 10 things, you have a list of 10. When people say, tell me 10 negative attributes about you, people snap 6. Boom, 6
Right
done. On this next list, tell me 10 positive attributes about you. They find 1. So here's what sucks, dude. People will puff up and brag and act like they're all this and all hard and just in your face. But when it comes down to writing down the paper, like, what are your skills?
Difficult.
What are your wins? They can't do it. And instead of just faking all the time and puffing all the time and pretending it looks good on the outside, but deep down we're broken. We need help. This is a time to reboot everything we've wanted to reboot about ourselves. And we have the opportunity right in front of us. So what's awesome about COVID is if I ask myself some questions, I start to kind of churn the brain, the wheels start turning. And during this time when I've had kids to work with, families, marriages, and I know, there's a lot of hurting people. People are out of jobs, they're waiting in line for food. I mean, people are really, really hurting. I get it. That's real life. But in the same hand, there's people whose marriages have been restored. There's fathers and daughters who are actually playing board games and hanging out and cooking together.
Yep.
There's fathers and sons who are rebooting, like, what do we want our legacy to look like right now? How can I jump back into your life? Parents who've been afraid to go down in their kid's room, like, he doesn't let me in his room, or she always just pushes me off. And my job, I just say, go sit on her bed. Just sit on her bed and just ask her, how's your day? Just let me in your life a little bit. And it's going to be super awkward and she might get upset and push you away. But this is the perfect time to reboot values. And the idea is like, look, honey, I realized something. I've realized that, like, I've kind of put work over you and mom and the boys. And I don't want to do that no more. Yep. I mean, just being real. You don't have to have the answers. You just be real, because as those real emotions heal. And in this time, when you're trying to figure out what's happening in my life, how do I figure things out? There are some really, really good changes in life that are literally like miraculous. So I read a story, and the story about this value system is it's actually a media company. And thankfully for them, none of their business is down. Everyone's going to social media. Everybody's going to video. Like, think about your job now at church.
Yep.
Everyone's doing online services. Everyone's going online. So a lot of media companies are actually making more money and having more appointments. So this one media company in particular, I was reading, what they did is they decided as a company to pay the rent of their favorite coffee shop, who's not getting any business. They still go drive through to their favorite coffee shop and they just get nervous like that. Hey, bro, your place is going to close. They paid their rent. But that's your value system. Like, how much do you value your coffee shop? Okay, yeah. I mean, a mean bean, come on, man, But it's more about that, right? Because every day, I talk to people, they go to their favorite coffee shop, they see the same person. You show up, say, hey, what's up? And they're just like, hey, the usual. They know you. So that's like family, like that old Cheers.
More relational.
Yeah, it's like everybody knows your name. So it's the relationship side. So look at this company. If they were like, we're in quarantine, everything's dying, like, we ain't getting any work, or, oh man, we're swamped, we can't do anything, like, we don't have time for anything, they can complain. Instead, they put their heads together and said, hey, we got more business coming right now, and we've got a little extra. What do you think if we voted on paying for that coffee shop's rent? Think about that for a minute. You know what everybody's doing right now with their money is everybody's hoarding, because it's like,
It's scared.
what's scary? What if? Like, how much faith does that take to go, we're going to take this extra instead of hoarding it, and we're going to dump that into a coffee company that we
Invest
love.
in someone else.
We love those people. That's a living legacy. That's right now wisdom. Like, hey, life's working for us. I know you're hurting. Don't pay us back.
Yep.
Can you imagine? Now imagine you do that with your family. So families are rebooting cookies. They're rebooting dinner. Just cook it. Valencia's hands-on with me when we do the turkey. Those times, you don't have to be so stressed. You don't have to run. Think about this. Just from the standpoint, and I know it's a business thing, so a lot of restaurants are hurting. But from the standpoint, like families who literally don't eat at home once all week long. There's no family time. They're in the car. They're just hanging food back. Not only is that not good for the kids' brains, that's not good for family time. Running, going, whatever, they hop home. And like think back to when you guys were all in sports. We've done it. I'm not judging anybody. We've come straight from work, dress clothes, McDonald's, drive in, eat in the car, get to the game. I'm coaching. I'm buying a hot dog at the stand, pounding a Gatorade, get home. We're on homework, let the dog out, go change my clothes, check the kids' homework. You do baths. You do a little prayer time and devotion because you're just exhausted. And then they go to bed. I ain't doing my workout. I ain't doing my reports. I'm just laying down watching TV. All of a sudden, you're ESPN, fall asleep in the man chair. And you're like, oh, crap, I got to get to bed. That happens. That's life. That's life. We don't have to do that right now. So now, how are you investing your time?
Yep.
How are you investing your energy? And how are you investing and rebooting your values? That's a value system. Do you value cooking at home? Do you value real food with a real family and a real dinner table? Is that too awkward for you? Like, this is amazing time, but we're not seeing that right now.
We're never going to have an opportunity like this again.
Yeah.
We're never going to have a worldwide pause
Correct.
like this again.
Correct. And for us, men of faith, we believe in God, and we believe that God doesn't ordain this stuff. Like, this is an attack straight from hell to kill, steal, and destroy, as the Bible says.
Yep.
But instead, God takes the evil and turns it in for good.
Yep.
I literally have seen marriages restored during this time.
Yeah.
I've literally seen people who don't ever talk in the same house are in love.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we know that God turns all things for bad into good for those who love the Lord. Here's the issue. Why are we not seeing it? Why are we not looking at it that way?
Because I don't think we're asking ourselves that what's awesome about this.
Correct.
We're thinking about, like you said, all the negatives, all
Correct.
the bad, all the stuff that is rightfully so the tough parts of quarantine.
Correct.
Rather than just looking at the positive and leaning into the positive sides
Correct.
of what we could do in our time, our energy, and values.
So at this time, restoring your values or rebooting your values, yes, you can give money to companies. You can give money to families. You can call and just love on them. You can write cards old school. It's fun to FaceTime families. I like to FaceTime family, even like FaceTiming the girls when all of us stick our face in a little bitty camera. But it's energizing. You see people.
That's what I've figured out in the value system. Rebooting our values is, yes, I want to invest in my marriage, and yes, I want to invest in my kids. But on the flip side of that, it's shown the things that have been taken away from me that I also value.
Explain that.
So I've noticed that it goes back to the rebooting energy. I get energy from Wednesday nights. I get energy from being around people. I get energy from staff meetings. I get energy from being creative and whiteboarding and brainstorming. And that is kind of been subsided because of that person-to-person interaction. And we took advantage of that. I haven't put that as a priority until now. It's kind of like, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. When that's been removed, I didn't know that was a part of something that I valued until it's been removed. The simple thing of going out to eat with other people.
Yeah.
I love that conversation around a dinner table. I value that. That's gone. We used to take that for granted. Oh, I'm tired. I don't know if I want to go out to eat, or Sundays after church, like I miss those things happen at, those tables and those conversations with families and friends. I miss our life group, I miss valuing our couples that come over and we talk for 2 or 3 hours, share a meal, talk about a devotion.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those nights and some of those times where we're like, man, I'm exhausted. I don't really want to do it. Is it again? And do I have to go out to eat? Now that we're missing it, I'm like, man, I really wish I could do that.
Yeah.
So to me, it's both. Like, find the values that you can invest in, and then also remember what you're missing, and think about how important those are when we can go back to that.
Correct.
You know, when you are able to do those things that have been taken away from us, you know, I'm going to hold those a little bit tighter now.
Correct.
Knowing,
So two things. One, make a prioritization list right now of your values as you head into quarantine being done.
Yep.
So you'll know what things you can push out. There was a time in my life when I was on 5 boards and I had realized I just put my name in to go on the 6th board. And I just prayed and fasted, didn't eat for a couple of days and prayed for a couple of days. I'm like, this feels so bad right now. I don't know why, because I just had this idea that like I'm choosing that over my boys. So I walked in, put in letters, and just resigned, and just pulled it back. I did no boards. From that day, I haven't been on a board since.
yeah, I think it questions even the simplest thing is like we talked about spending. You know, like
Yes.
we're questioning everything we buy
Yes.
way more than we normally do.
Correct.
And do I actually need that? Is it actually valuable right now? And which has got us to the question, well, if it's not valuable right now, when you're off quarantine, is it
Yes.
really still less valuable or more valuable? It's like just
Yes.
it's caused us to rethink the importance of everything in our life.
Yeah. So that's
Which I
important.
love.
So so there's a want, there's a need, and then what's the value?
Yeah.
You know, I need it, but wait, what value is it going to bring to me right now? What value is it going to bring to my family?
Right.
And if it pulls me away from the value system that I'm trying to build, I can't have it.
Yep.
Even if I think I need it.
As Marshawn Lynch said,
Go take care of y'all mentals. Go take care of y'all mentals.
do you got to manage your mentals action step for us
Yes.
this week? How do we put these 3 things, you know, rebooting your energy, your time, and your values into an action step on how we manage our mentals?
So the action step is to journal. So take
Wait,
journal.
like dear journal,
Like as
today's
in
I
writing.
am feeling.
Writing.
Okay. All right.
Writing. And you can do this at night, because sometimes when people lay down and they try to go to sleep, they get racing thoughts, their head races, their
Yep.
mind races,
Always.
they can't sleep. This is a great time. This is actually called a brain dump. You reach over your nightstand, flip on your lamp. Me and Stacey have this, and we pull out a book, and literally you just jot down. You don't have to make sense of it right now. This is called the brain dump. So this is almost like you have, you know, let's say 2 minutes. You have 120 seconds to write down as much as you can, as fast as you can. Just get it off the head. You don't have to make sense of it. Just spit it out. Blah, 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 blah. And then you're done. Turn off the light and try to go back to bed. Your brain will tell you if you're not done. You're like, oh, wait, there's a couple more things. Do it again. Do it again. And then all of a sudden you'll be able to relax. Now, in your morning routine, when you get your coffee or your workout or whatever your filling station looks like, now you go back to that journal. You read it through, because it's going to be sloppy chicken scratch a little bit. You read it through and you're going to circle and highlight the things that are prioritizations for you. Pull them over to the next page. And now this is where energy hits. When you expend creative energy, you boost your brain energy. When you expend creative energy, you boost your brain energy. When I think about all these negative things, everything shuts down because my body thinks I'm in war zone. I'm imprisoned. When I start to create, I free my mind. And now energy starts to push, and I'm calling blood flow, and I'm calling neurotransmitters, and I'm actually burning glucose the right way to energize. I'm exchanging energy within me to create. That's why we've always pushed you guys so much to create, because when you create, you grow your brain. Literally, I promise you, it'll change your life. Like I'm always journaling. I'm always writing stuff down.
And to tie it back, we journal, you know, maybe the routine to fix your energy, maybe jot down where you're investing time, come up with a priorities list of there.
Yes.
Journal values, you know, come
Yes.
up with a value system. What's number 1 on your list? Work your way down, write all
Yeah.
those things down.
Yeah. So, okay. So here's a methodology for you then. Okay. So you're going to write down action step 1, right? And you're going to put in there energy, rebooting energy. Action step 2, right? Which would be rebooting my time. Action step 3, rebooting my values. And as you take a glance at it, just look at it and ask yourself a question. Which one do I feel like right now I have a lot of motivation, energy toward? You might go to number 3 and put values. This makes sense to me right now. Like especially right now after listening to this podcast, you might go, man, there's some crazy ideas I have for value system stuff. You might go there. So you have to move where your energy goes.
Yeah, because they're not in sequential order.
No,
you don't have to do 1
no,
to do 2 to do
Absolutely
3.
not. You might start with number 3. We just put them in that order because we're just teaching. But you could start with number 3, which then will reboot your time, which will then reboot your energy. Or you could start with energy, which will reboot. It doesn't matter. Here's the point. Lock one thing down. One thing. Because I promise you, the guy who masters one thing every single day in 30 days is 30 times ahead of you when you're trying to just rejournal, reorganize. You're like pre-planning all the time, and you're not doing anything. So 30 days go by and you're like, I don't know where to start. The other dude's locked this down for 30 days, one thing.
Yep.
He's ahead of you.
Like it. Sweet. Before we leave you and you continue with your morning, afternoon, or evening, we just want to remind you that there are 2 times to be great. You feel like it, and when you don't. And tune in next time as we talk about raising resilient kids.
Let's go. That's
That'd be
my
a good
favorite.
one.
That's
This applies to people with kids and without kids, grandparents.
Correct.
I mean, don't just tune us out just because you don't have kids
No,
yet.
even
This
your
is a
adult kids.
teaching moment for adult kids, for people that are preparing to have kids one day.
Yes.
Sweet. So if what we talked about at any level spoke to you, you enjoyed it, please leave us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and then ring that bell so you can get notified when we drop new content. And then leave us a comment below with a W.A.T moment you got or any questions regarding today's content. And as always, we love you. Go renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation. We love you.
Peace.
I had to realize what's inside of me. For all of the people that lied to me. For all of the people that said I would fall off. Oh, boy, what a time to be alive. I wrote this for everyone, feel like they counted out. You need to look in the mirror and tell yourself it's time to be who I am now. Greatness.